Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today I'm talking about a rule that could potentially go into effect and change the way we see the NFL. Now, I know this isn't a specific Bears topic, but it is something that could affect the Bears should they pass it. And of course, this is more general football, but I think us as Bears fans, we can all handle that. So, one of the things that I think is really undervalued and underrated by fans is the competition committee meetings during the off season. I know we got the draft going on. Of course, I do that a lot. We got free agency that people are guessing. We got people getting tagged, all that good stuff. There's no lack of news in the NFL off season. However, once it gets to the competition committee, I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention as much. And for me, this is big because while we talk about trends, this is a passing league, this is this type of league, this has to be this, only left tackles are important, not right tackle. While we talk about trends, people don't realize those trends come from somewhere more times than not. And as much as people want to talk about a passing league, you got to talk about how we got there because of the rules that were implemented against the defense. And so when we're talking about competition committee and changing the rules, this really can affect the game. I mean, a lot of people kind of poo-pooed the extra point being moved back. And we've seen in a short amount of seasons that it really can affect things without making those extra points. Now, everybody doesn't go for two like they predicted, but you see a lot more missed extra points than you have seen before. And so those things do really affect the product that you're going to watch, the way they're going to coach, and the way your team ultimately wins games. So I think it's more important that people start looking into that stuff every offseason. And it's exciting to see them make a smart change or maybe make a change that you don't like. And so that's my 2 cents on that. So today's episode is about the proposed idea to change the defensive interference penalty to a 15-yard penalty. So real quick to break it down, I know most of us know this already, but in the NFL currently, the defensive interference penalty is a spot foul, meaning that when defensive interference happens, that the ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Now, this isn't the same as illegal touching, trying to jam a receiver down the field. This is full-on interference if the referee judges it that way. And so there are two levels to that, like I said, with illegal touching, which you can't do after 5 yards, and interference, which can happen anyway, as far as basically grabbing or holding or preventing a receiver. And so the proposed change would make it into a 15-yard penalty max. Now, that could mean they have two levels of interference, where maybe if it was ticky-tack, it's 5 yards, or if it's a little more egregious, it's 15, but it did say 15 yards max, meaning that obviously they might have more than one level of penalty. Either way, this completely changes the game. I have been begging for years and complaining to anybody that listened to it that the interference penalty is ridiculous and it helps offenses. And I have some people that really dismiss me, like saying that it's not that big of a deal, when I know for a fact that not only in the NFL but anywhere else, offenses are coached on that part of the game where you trying to get down the field in a hurry or flip field position, and it's more so a vertical route, not to chuck the ball up and get a completion, but you want the receiver to get in a position where he can get interfered with and they can move the ball. Now, NFL is the only place where you can literally flip the field by doing that. But even a 15-yarder in college, that's something that people try to go after. And if a quarterback maybe sees a guy that's open at the first down, but sees a guy running in the double coverage, there's many times that top quarterbacks will put that ball up in double coverage, knowing that the defender's in bad position. He's going to get an interference call and we can move the ball. And so even though I really admired the Patriots, I'm okay with them being the scapegoat, because now that people saw what the Patriots were able to do to the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game, now all of a sudden this is a big issue. And I'm fine with that, whatever brings it to the forefront. And it's funny that people kind of poo-poo the Patriots and cry about them doing it when every team does it. You watch your team, you watch NFL Monday night, Thursday night, whatever, you will see throughout the season teams just moving up and down the field through penalties. And I cannot stand it, because the defense can't do that. There's no situation where the defense just can move somebody from one side of the field to the other side of the field with a few penalties. It has to be a big play. And so there's a lot of times where you got guys that aren't completing passes, that aren't making good throws, people that can't catch the ball and whatever. They're moving the ball simply because of penalties and getting penalty yards and not offensive yards. And so a lot of people keep crying about, well, changing this rule would incentivize defensive backs to basically interfere down the field to prevent a home run. And I'm like, you think they don't do that already? I mean, they already do that. If you got beat, that's how interference happens. If they got beat, they're going to try to grab and hold them and prevent a touchdown. And I understand, that's part of the game. But for me, I'm like, how many times do you think that's going to happen where they're consistently getting blown off the ball and nobody's there to cover them and they're just going to keep interfering? I don't think it's going to come up as many times in one drive as people act like. But in one drive, you always, every single pass play, have the chance to get an interference. It doesn't have to be a blown coverage. It doesn't have to be 50 yards downfield. You can just chunk out the yards by getting interference calls. And so, to me, it forces offenses to execute better. Now, interference and blatant interference, yes, it needs to be called, but the ticky-tack fouls, the ones that are a little too close to tell, that should not be rewarded with a team getting 40 yards in one play for something they didn't even complete. That's just too much for me. Now, 15 yards, again, to my point, people say, wow, that's going to incentivize them. That's going to incentivize them. How many times can you get a 15-yard penalty and the offense not score? It's not like 15 yards is only going to get you an inch. That's an automatic first down in any regular situation. And 15 yards is big. You get 4 15-yard penalties in one drive, that's 60 yards. That's more than half the field. So it's not like offenses still can't move the ball if you're going to play dirty. You can't just go out and start destroying receivers. You still have to cover. I think it evens the playing field a little bit. You still got to play clean as a corner, but now I think offenses finally have to be a little more precise in their execution instead of relying on, let's just put the ball up and go for the interference call. And now I will say, it's mostly in those game-winning situations like the Patriots, or not the game-winning, but like 2-minute drills or game-winning situation, whatever. And so I'm not saying that offenses purposely go out and try to move down the field with penalties every drive, but it can be inadvertent. If the ref calls those penalties, they will keep moving the ball. And so I just think it evens it out. You can't go out there 2 straight plays, negative yards, third down, put the ball up, get a ticky-tack foul, and now you're in the red zone. That can't happen anymore. And so I think people should really pay attention, and they should really, if you agree with it, tweet at the NFL, comment on their articles, all those things, and really let them know that this is something that is needed. It is something that is absolutely needed. the smartest thing the NFL did is that they have a legal touching penalty. And so after 5 yards, you can't touch the receivers. And so in the college game, yes, they have the 15-yard interference penalty, so offenses can't do that. But at the same time, they don't have a illegal touching penalty. And so corners have bad habits. They interfere all the way down the field. It's not a happy medium. It's actually more favored to the defense. But the NFL, with the illegal touching and the 15-yard penalty interference, I think you find a really happy balance where both the offense and defense have to actually play. And I think this is really going to help go more towards letting defenses play instead of giving offenses all the advantages. The one caveat I'll say is that the NFL, and they do this every year, they always pick a rule they want to enforce a little more heavily. And so they said illegal touching is going to be the rule. Hopefully it doesn't go crazy where we're seeing like 5 flags a drive, but that's kind of their counterbalance. So they are going to look for more illegal touching, which it is hard for corners to do, or to avoid, I should say. But at the same time, I still think you won't have situations where a team drives down the field without ever completing a pass. Okay, so those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear the conversation from everybody. Do you think this is a game changer like I do? Do you think this really could change the way football is done and really help the defense? Do you think it really won't change much and offenses still can do what they've got to do? Or do you think it doesn't matter and you like the rule the way it is? Go to the comment section, let me know. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around if you heard it here. Sorry, that was a different sign off from a different show. But thank you guys for listening. Remember, stay up and bear down.